Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. In this video I'd like to show you how to join the Demelza blanket. I won't be doing all the joins with you, I'll just be showing you different elements that are involved in joining this blanket according to the pattern. I'm using Scheepjes stone washed yarn and a 3.5mm hook. Now I won't show you each and every join, I'll just show you how to start a join, how to end a join, how to treat a crossing point. So I'll show you all the different elements involved in joining your blanket. Joining is always a lot of work, so take your time on doing this, don't rush this because a bad join just totally ruins your entire blanket. So take it one step at a time, one square, one join at a time, and you'll have a lovely blanket as an end result. We're going to start by first connecting the 4 little squares to form a 4 square, as it's called. First, make sure that you've got them oriented in exactly the way that you want them, that you don't have any mistakes on your blanket. And then we're going to start by joining them. We'll start in this corner, work over to that corner, and then start on the other edge and work up, or start there and come down. That's up to you. We're going to start in this corner here. And before we actually start making the square, first a word on which stitches we're going to be working in. Each and every join it will start, so not only the small squares but also the large blanket. We won't start in the corner stitch, but in the stitch next to it, on the inside of the join. So in this case you've got the corner has 3 stitches in one corner. Sometimes you'll have a chain 2 space here, kind of depends on which square it is. But you'll always start that stitch just next to the corner on the inside. So in this case it's this stitch. And here you also see your 3 corner stitches, and there it is, that stitch. So those are the 2 stitches that we're going to be starting with. Then the second point, the 4 squares and all the other squares, you'll be doing the join from the back. That means you're going to be flipping your work together so that the front sides of the squares are facing each other, and then we're going to start working the join here. Now take a look to see where your stitches are, especially sometimes your squares can kind of roll inward, and then you might be tempted to think that this here is your stitch, but it's not. See, if I just roll my stitch up, you can see this here is your stitch. And those are the stitches that we'll be working. And we'll be working the back loops. That means it's this loop here on the outside and that loop there on the outside. So if I've got these 2 together, we're going to be working a stitch through here and there. So those outer loops, the back loops. And then when you open up your work, what's going to happen is you're going to have those little loops still here, they'll be visible, and those 2 inner loops in this case will be worked together. So let's get started with the actual join. I have a slip knot on my hook to start the first stitches, and when you've got the first stitch right, then the rest just flows after that. So it's especially the first stitch that can be a little tricky, and if you don't get the right stitch, don't stress about that too much. Just fudge a little bit later on if you see things don't align perfectly, because usually crochet is very forgiving, so don't stress too much about that. Now if we're aiming to get the right stitch, take a look at your corner stitch. You see here are the 3 corner stitches. So this is the stitch next to it, the one I'm going for. And on the other side, that's easier because you've got the front side facing. See, that's the corner stitch, and then the stitch next to it, and that outer loop. So these 2 back loops are what I'm going for. And then we work a single crochet through that stitch. Then the next stitch, again that outer loop here and on the other side, and work a single crochet. I realize it's maybe not incredibly visible. So if I just turn it forward, you'll see it's that outer loop, and on the other side, see that's the stitch, and then that loop that's on the outside. To work a few stitches, and I'll show you from the front what it looks like. And the one next to it, that one. And another stitch here and there. I've now worked a few single crochets. If I open up, what you'll see, you see here, if you look very closely, you see there are your joins. There's those little stripes, that's your join. And you see this edge that's formed here because you're working only in those back loops. And this gives you a very nice effect. I really like these little edges that you have if you join with only the back loops. And we're going to continue until I get to this point, and then I'll just show you how to cross over to your next 2 squares. So just continue, work the back loop here, back loop there, and single crochet. This one, that one, and a single crochet. We're almost to the end. Still got to go 1 stitch here, 1 stitch there, single crochet, and at this point my next stitch is the corner stitch. And now you are going to work the corner stitch, because only at the beginning do you skip the corner stitch. So all other situations you work that corner, and also at the end of the row you're going to skip the corner, but everything that's in the middle of your blanket you work the corner. So then again, look at your stitch. Make sure so don't go for this loop here, because that would be the wrong stitch. That loop, and then on your corner stitch on the other side, that loop, and single crochet. Then your next 2 squares, these 2. Again, make sure you've got them the right way around. If you're in doubt, open up your square and see, okay, that's how I've got it, and do I want them like this, or do I want them like that? So make sure it's correct in the way it's oriented. And then you can close your work and then continue. Then you know, okay, I've got them all oriented in the right way. And now we're going to cross over. We've just worked the corner on this side, and now we're going to do the same and work corners on that side. So first take a moment to identify your corner. You see here, 1, 2, 3. These 3 are your corner stitch. So this is the corner stitch on this side, and likewise on the other side. See here, 1, 2, 3. So this is my corner stitch here. And then again we're going for those back loops, so especially the one that's the wrong side facing you. Make sure you tilt your stitches forward, you see that stitch in the correct place. So this is my corner stitch. I want that outer loop, and the other one also that outer loop, and then single crochet. And now you can continue to the end, doing exactly what you've done up till now. That's outer loop, outer loop, and then you're going to form your join. Then I'll just show you how to continue, and I'll see you here just for that last little bit. Almost to the end, got a few more stitches to go. So working those outside loops. And at a certain point you'll get the hang of this, about exactly which stitch it is and which loop it is. And this is the last stitch before the corner. You see here, this is my corner stitch. I've got one, this is the center stitch, and then the next one. So that stitch is going to be the last stitch we work, because we're now at the end of the 4 squares. We're not going to work that corner. And same on the other side. You see here, 1, 2, 3 stitches. And that center one we're again going to leave undone. You're going to use that center stitch when we connect this to the rest of the blanket. Then you're going to be working through that. And work, oops, your last single crochet. So you're leaving your corner stitch undone. It means you can cut your yarn and open up. So then I'm just going to open up here, and you can see, if you look very closely, depending also on which color yarn you use. If you use a color that's really different from your stitches, you'll see it very well, and otherwise you'll hardly notice the join. So this is your join in the one direction. I'm now going to fold it the other way, and then I'm going to work this join. And seriously, it doesn't matter if you do it like this or like that, it comes down to the same thing. So don't worry about how you what side you've worked and in which direction. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing. Here we're again going to start in the stitch just next to the corner. So if you look at your corner stitch, 1, 2, 3, that stitch just on the inside of the corner. And the same here, 1, 2, 3, that stitch there. I'm going to start here again with a single crochet and work up to here, and then I'm going to show you just how to do that little jump. So start here, do exactly the same as we did on this first edge, work here, and then I'll show you how to do that jump. I've worked the first single crochets, and now I'm almost to the point where I already have this join here. Now let's work the last 2 stitches. You see I've still got a few stitches left here before I actually get to this join. I'm just going to work these last 2. And then the next one is the stitch before the corner. So I'm going to work that loop and that loop. And now you can do one of 2 things. You can just cross over to the other side, or you can work your corner stitch also. I prefer to actually work this corner stitch from this direction also. So I'm just going to go through the corner loop. So this already contains stitches from the other direction. I'm going to work a single crochet in there. And I'm going to come to the other side, and that's my corner loops from the other side, and work a single crochet in there too. This way you just have the smallest amount of chance of getting holes here. So I really like to work it on both sides. And now you can continue again. A loop on this side, a loop on that side, and a single crochet. Loop on that side, and a single crochet. And continue until you get here, and do not work that corner. So again, if you look at the corner, you're going to stop on the stitch on just before the center stitch. So you're going to stop there. So work all these last single crochets, and then your join, you can see here how your corner looks like. You can see that you've got 4 stitches in there, so it's really nice and secure. No hole poking here, because that's really important that you don't get holes in your corners. So work your last edge, and then we can do the big blanket, because this is only step 1. When you've completed your 4th square, it looks like this. You'll see it looks a little bit lopsided maybe, because we haven't joined those corners on the outside edges. So don't worry about that. That'll all be fine when we join this to the rest of the blanket. So do all 4 of your little squares. Now, before continuing with the rest of the joining, I'd like to give you a few tips. First of all, join your entire blanket. Lay it out on the floor and join everything in the places where you want them. So I've got here, I can just show you a small corner. I can't get the entire blanket in front of the camera. But you see here, this is one corner of the blanket. And I've got the corner square and 2 of the flat flower squares, and here you can just see one of the other flat flower squares and the 4th square. I've got everything joined here with stitch markers. You can also use safety pins or whatever other means you've got available to you, but join your squares together loosely, like this, because this way you're going to prevent yourself from accidentally having, for example, one the wrong way around, having it like that on your blanket. Trust me, that happens. So that'll keep that from happening. It'll also keep you from rotating your joints, that you accidentally have one like this. Basically, you've got a twist in your blanket, then that doesn't happen. And that way you can also keep track of what joints you've done you can quickly see, okay, I've already done this one, I've done that one I haven't done. Then you can also quickly see where you are at each and every point of your joining process. And it just keeps everything a little bit together. You've got a bit of a sense of how big it's gonna be, all of those things. So take the time to lay it out on the floor, and then you can also make sure that all your squares are in the positions you want them, that things are oriented the way you want them, and then quickly join them together. And then you're ready to start joining. A second tip I have for you, and this is not part of the pattern, but this is something that I've seen online, is what we're going to be doing is we're going to be joining these 4 squares to the panel, the rectangular panel we have, to actually work slip stitches on the edge of the panel, and then we're going to use that to join it to our squares. This way we don't have to work through the material, because you'd otherwise have to work your single crochets through the material. So this slip stitch join, I've got a separate video showing you exactly how to do that. And this is just a small tip from me. It doesn't change anything to the way we do the border. It just makes it easier to get a nice clean edge here on this join. If you don't want to do this, that's perfectly fine. That's absolutely okay. It's just to maybe help you get a nice clean edge there if you want to. So if you've laid out everything the way you want, you've maybe worked that slip stitch, then you're ready to start joining. So to start any join, I have a slip knot on my hook, and I have here 2 squares that I'm going to start joining in one direction. You see there are the stitch markers, and now again be sure that you've got the back of your work facing that. So this is the front side of the squares. You can see they're here facing each other. And I'm going to show you the beginning here. I'll show you the end. I'll show you all the elements that are involved in joining. I won't show you each and every join. That'll be just too much. Now let's take a look at this square here. You see you've got a corner here. You've got a small chain 1 space there. So that's your actual corner. And then you want to go to the stitch next to it, and the same on this side. Here you've got 3 single crochets, or 3, I don't remember, 3 stitches anyway in the corner, and again you're going to look at that center stitch and then go for the stitch next to it. So in both cases, center stitch, and if it's easier then check it from the front. Okay, what's the center stitch? Okay, that's a center stitch, then the stitch next to it. And again, that outer loop is the one you want. And if this is hard to see, don't worry if you've got the wrong stitch. You can just fudge this all the way. Then this is the center, and then the stitch next to it on that outer loop. So this is exactly the same as with the 4 squares. Work a single crochet. And now again, work a stitch here, stitch there, and a single crochet. Then I'm just going to remove this stitch marker because it's going to hamper me now, because I've already got the start, so that's not an issue now anymore. Then I can just get my hand here through this, then a loop on this side and on that side. Again, those outer loops, the back loops. This is exactly the same as the 4 squares that you've just done. And that one there. And a single crochet. If you now look from the front, you can already see a little bit, see that join there. And you can see the edge that you're forming by only working in the back loops. So I'm going to continue until I get to my first set of corner here, and then I'll just show you how to do the corner. Just like to show you how to cross over from this corner to that corner. You're going to do this in exactly the same way as you did for the 4 square. I'm going to try my best to show this to you, but in essence what you're going to be doing is you're going to be working the corner stitches on this side and then come to that side and work the corner stitches on that side. So exactly the same way. Still got one more stitch left here, and as you progress it becomes easier because you've got more parts that are already connected, so there's less things that are flopping around everywhere. And you see you've got the rest of the blanket all that's just all in the way. That was the last stitch. Now I need to work the corner here, so that's going to be again that loop in the corner and that loop in the corner and this single crochet. Then come to the other side here and identify where's your corner. Okay, there's the corner, that's that stitch, so I want that back loop there. And on this side, check where's the corner. Okay, so that's the corner stitch, then the stitch next to it, so I want this loop. And oh no, I want the corner, sorry. Yes, here you want the corner stitch and the corner. And if you've got the wrong loop, it's not a crisis. The crochet is very forgiving. Then just continue and fudge it all the way. And those outer loops, you remember you're still doing the outside loops. And this side, that side, and that side. So you see how you've now crossed over here from one square to the next. So you've worked the corner square here, the corner stitches, and then go to the other side and work the corner stitches on this side. I'm going to continue because at a certain point you're going to hit this point here, which is where you've got two, if you've got a T-join basically, you've got these two squares and you've got that straight edge there on the back. You're going to have this on a square sometimes, or you're going to have it on your side panel, your rectangular panel. I'll show you how to deal with a T-join that you may have. When you've reached a T-junction, let me call it that, where the, for example, the four small squares meet up to a straight edge. You also have this on your panel sometimes when your panel meets up with two corner squares. So when you get a situation like this, we're going to work a single crochet in the corner of the square. It's going to be that stitch. Then we're going to work a single crochet two together through the corners, and then we're going to work another single crochet in the second corner. So to get started, first we do a single crochet in the corner. You can see this here is the corner stitch because that's the stitch where we stopped. Remember, we stopped just before the corner. So in the next stitch, again, just the back loop, work a single crochet. Now through this loop and the next stitch, pick up a loop as to work a single crochet, but now we're going to stop, go over to the other side, pick up the corner loop and the same stitch and pick up another loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook. They're all connected to the same stitch on the blue side, and you've got them in the 2 corner stitches here. And pull through. And now through that corner stitch, still work another single crochet in the next stitch. And everything is still in the back loop. So see, if I turn forward, you see that outer loop, and the next stitch also the outer loop, and then you can continue as normal. So continue until you get to your next crossing point, which is going to be this one, to the next one, etc., until you get to the other side. I'll show you one more element, which is how to deal with the panel. Just quickly want to show you how to deal with the panel. So you see on that side you've got the panel with the stripes, and I've got those slip stitch joins in there. I just quickly joined my yarn here, so I haven't done the entire join. I just want to show you how to do the crossing and how to work the panel. So we're going to start. I'm just going to work the last stitches here. So I've got a stitch there in the back loop and in the back loop. So I'm just going to work these last few stitches, then show you the corner, the crossing, and how to work in the panel. And I'm actually going to have to just quickly fudge this because of course I didn't align this well. So to fudge it, what I'm doing here in general for fudging is I've got working in the same stitch on this side and I'm taking a next stitch on the other side. You can also do this the other way around. That way you can correct for stitches. So you've got 2 in this stitch and only 1 on that side. So this is a way to correct for stitch count if you don't have it correct or you've misaligned your things ever so slightly. That, like I said, just fudge like this and you'll be fine. Now we're on to the corner. This place up, this square has a single crochet in the corner and this square has a chain space in the corner. So I'm just going to go through that chain space and work a single crochet. Now on the other side you want to work in the corner. So I've got the corner here of the 4 square, so that back loop from the corner, and then on the other side what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through both of my slip stitches and then work a single crochet, and then I can continue again back loop on this side, and on the other side I'm going to work through both single crochets, both slip stitches. So that's a slight difference to what you may be used to up till now. So here it's only the back loop and there is through both. If you did not work those slip stitches, then that's also fine. What you then do is you take a loop on this side and you have to go through your fabric and work a single crochet. And this is the reason why I've worked these slip stitches, that then it becomes easier to do that join in a controlled fashion. Like I said, I've got a separate video showing you how to work those slip stitches. So if you don't want to go through the slip stitch, you punch your hook through your fabric. That's also good. I'm going to go through the slip stitches. And then you want to know what does it look like, your join from the other side. Well, let me just open this up, see if I can find it. And it is, where is it? Let me just find this join for a moment, because everything's the wrong way around. Let me just find it. There you go, I found it. Here's the join. Because everything's all folded to the back, it's kind of hard to see exactly where I was working. But here you see the join from the front, the few stitches that we just worked. You see them through the slip stitches that I made. So here are the next few slip stitches that I made onto the panel, and you see that edge there on the 4 square. So continue like this until you've done all your vertical joins. I'll just show you how to do the end of the vertical join also, so just when you get to the last stitch on your edge. So when you come to the end of a join, you're getting to the next, you've got these 2 corner stitches here, and you're again going to leave those unworked. So I'm just going to work the last few stitches. So again, the back loop and the back loop. And then on this one I've got 1 more stitch, and then I've got a chain 2 space as a corner, so I'm going to leave that chain 2 space unworked. And on this side I've got 3 single crochets forming the corner, so that center one we're leaving that unworked. Those 2 are the ones that form the corners. So I'm working that last single crochet there, and then this is my corner, and that single crochet there is the corner, so I'm leaving that unworked. So I can now cut my yarn and pull through. Now this is the way to treat all the beginning and ends of every joining line. So the corner itself you leave unworked. You stop or start at the stitch just before the corner. And then you can do all your horizontal lines, and now you can start your vertical lines. You do exactly the same for the vertical as we've done for the horizontal, and I'll just show you how to do one jump over again when you get to a cross point. I just want to show you how to cross over again. I'm going to do it basically in the same way as we did for the 4 squares. We still have one stitch left here on either side, so I'm just going to work that last stitch. That's one and that one. And then the next stitch is the corner stitch, which already contains the join from the other direction, and this can be sometimes really hard to do. So what I like to do is I like to go through those corner stitches and then work a single crochet, and then come to the other side and work a single crochet through there also. So it's that one and that one there. So they already contain stitches, and that makes it sometimes easier and sometimes harder to also work in that same position. And then you can continue again. And I've got that stitch marker in the way, but this one and that one. Again, those two outer loops, back loops, with a single crochet. And now you can continue again along this edge here. So that's a good way to cross from one space to the next. When you've done all your joins, you can leave the yarn tails at the ends. You can leave those because we're going to work them in when we do the border. But these in the middle around your 4 square, you might want work these away. Make sure they're all to the back and all nicely worked in. But those at the edge you can leave. So when you've done all your joins, you've got one very big blanket. You can see they're all joined here. And yeah, I just can't get this in front of the camera, so I'm not even going to bother. So do all your joins in one direction and the other direction, and then you're ready for the